just the beginning.
666 on Vogues, my witch on purple dope. 666 on Vogues, my witch on purple dope. I spit dragon venom from hell into the heavens. Which girl led the vixen? Most poisonous of kissing. Liquid smoke be dripping. Hop into the hippin'. Pop rap Vegas hitting. I'm hot purple, they tripping. Doctors, they be scripping. Slave bank money printing. Wall Street stock be hitting. The wet, the sweat is dripping. How many pills they taking? The banker smells like bacon. In road pedophiles be hanging. In Greek words I be slanging. Hot fire tracks banging. Babylon's vaping. Honey on the radio. The man who laughs it up more. Pennywise. With the indica and a dose surprise. All night in the coat. Make you feel alright. Sleeping tight. Make you see the light. Venus. Medusa's coming right. Athena, snake venom in your eyes.
Welcome back to Lady Babylon. This is a special. This is the Devil's Reckoning. And tonight, what I am going to do is I am going to use our space to bring you the past, the present, and the future. I want you to say thank you to the artist who created for the Satanic Congregation, who created that beautiful painting, which I'm told has already been exhibited. Fantastic, fantastic. I love it. I love it. It's gorgeous. Oh, it brings out, don't you think so? Tell me, congregation. Tell me, congregation, don't you think it brings out the goodies? I think she's captured something. I'm not going to say who it is because I want them to remain comfortably anonymous. Yeah, fantastic. But I love that. I love that. And yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Let's go to what we're going to be doing tonight together. I'm going to be bringing on Gnostic Informant. He's got, where'd you go? We need to go right up front, Neil. Get up here. So as soon as he tags in, we'll start with a couple of clips. I'm doing things differently tonight. I'm doing them a little bit backwards. I've just got a couple of clips for you. I'll go ahead and set this up while we're waiting for Neil. Yes. I want you to know that Danny Jones, Metal Danny Jones, Man of Iron, Metal Danny Jones is causing more stir with his penetrating interviews. When I say penetrating, I mean that iron sticks right to reality. So there have been spun from Danny's work some other things. And one of the things that we're thinking about is this dude Amen and the work that he is doing. The things that he is saying, crazy as they are. Let's take a look at it tonight. This is in an interview. I don't know what's happening with Gnostic, but we're going to go ahead and set sail. Is he here? Oh, okay. You know what? Here, let me give you these first while we're waiting here. Go ahead and give me the first. I want people to see this from last week. I'm getting just beautiful email. Hey, Chewy, thank you so much for all your hard work, Lady Babylon. You and Amen have changed my life. By that, I mean you made everything that I've been researching since I was in my teens click right into the place and cut any final strings of psychological control that my fundamentalist Christian roots had over me. Now, okay, I just want to stop there. Do you know that I get these emails frequently? I was just reading another one, today's, before I came in here. And I just want to say to people, the impact is not due to me. And I know that you really understand that underneath. It's why I'm not selling you anything and why we don't have a cult. The impact of that is that reality that comes to us through that Greek. And it's a glimpse of of pure life. It's ionic. When they talk about ionic life, come to me and I'll give you ionic life. This is what they're talking about. Thank you, Magi. I just wanted you to see this. I wanted you people to see this. This is what's coming in. Now, on top of that, we're going to look a little bit to the future. We're going to look a little bit to the future. Okay. Before, you know what? Let's save that then. I'm going to go ahead and summon. I'm going to summon right now. Gnostic, get in here. Chewy, bring Gnostic in.
I gotta fix headphones real quick.
Yeah, get your headphones. Get your headphones fixed. Point that microphone at your mouth.
You can hear me though, right?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, hold on 1 second. Just keep reading comments. I'll be back in two minutes. Give me 2 minutes.
Give him 2 minutes, for goodness sakes. He's coming up. I'll preface this by saying we're going to watch clips of an interview that Myth Vision had with Gnostic Informant. And we're going to look at a couple of things. Give me one of the future bits that I want to show everybody. Give me a future bits. Yeah, go ahead. Give me that one. People. Turns out we cracked them. Turns out we cracked them with this one word. There is nobody who can stand now that we have the Christos. Nobody that can stand. Now that we have that, the history must be cleansed of the fairy tale. Now that we know what that Christos is, there are 4 things that are happening right now. This is what I'm telling you. There are 4 things that are happening right now that are making it possible for us to re-access that classical civilization, that reality. And here it is. Here's the one. Christos. They can't go toe-to-toe with Christos. They can't go toe-to-toe with it. Even their people who do Greek are scared of Amen. They're scared of Amen. Did you know that? Give me the next one. The lace stays. They're trapped. They're trapped so beautifully and effortlessly with the lace stays. It's something they can never recover from. And again, it is indefensible. It's indefensible, right? This, what we're talking about, causes their so-called scholars to run literally in a match. Oh my God, run away, go somewhere and cry in my big pillow. Listen, classical philology is an art. You shouldn't have stepped in it unless you knew what you were doing. Let's go. Is he back here? Pull him up. Get him out here. Jesus, by the way. Thanks, Jesus. We appreciate you. The purple people is another prong of our 4 things that I was going to tell you about tonight. Another one, the purple. They can't get rid of the purple. And where's that? Dig him up before. Just dig me up this one. Yeah, there you go. What does that one say? Jesus was arrested with a naked boy. They cannot turn away. With the text itself, we can take them down. Do you see? There is an antichrist to the Christ. Fantastic. I love it. Hey, get that kid away from Abraham. Is he doing that again? Look, right? Oh, and one more Chewy saying, look, we'll just do these since we're going to jump into Neil. The forgery of the Hebrew text. You know what else is making a huge splash? That people are looking around saying, oh my God. Right? And everybody's saying, because they don't know. Everybody's saying, well, no. Nobody has ever said this. This man is a kook. Right? No. I am not a kook. I am a thief and a cheat. I take these gems from the muse. I take these gems from the muse. And a dude, she brought me Julius Africanus. He's an ancient dude. He's writing to Origen, very famous Christian. And what are they writing about? They're writing about this, exactly what I'm talking about. The Hebrew is a forgery. The original is Greek. It's not my idea. It's something right out of an antiquity. And why is it even a concern at this time? Because this is when the forgery is taking place. This is when they're trying to pass off a false history. And who is doing it? Zealous monists, just like the followers of Akhenaten, just like the followers of Jesus. Where is he? Where is he? What's that, God? What's that? Abraham, kill your son. Isaac, let's take a deeper look. Pull it up. Pull it up. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Shuey. There, give me. What is that stuff? Don't get too close to that, dude. I was reading today about what they use that stuff for. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. I want people. Oh, no, give me Neil. Neil is the next one. Come on up here, Gnostic. I've played around a little bit.
I only said 2 minutes. That's all I said. 2 minutes. I was what happened to me? No, I'm just kidding.
It's
I'm not
always
too bright, am I? I think it's a little. I'm using a stock camera right now. It doesn't even look that bad.
Me. Your stock camera is gonna look better than my 8 Mbps internet. Here's what I want to do. I want to show 3 clips. I want to show 3 clips, and here's what I want to do. This is different for satanic initiation, but here we go. Are you ready? I want to show you 3 clips, and I want your responses as the person who's sitting there. I just want to ask you a couple of questions about, how you feel, right? Let's go to the first one. Chewy, are you ready? Here we go. Hit it.
To get into some of the details of the things that I noticed about his mistakes, just to be completely upfront, we can get into details about this. I do not think that Dan has even a bachelor's level knowledge of the classics. And I could be wrong. That's just what it looks like to me.
Right.
It looks like when it comes to Roman religion, Greek religion, mystery cults, Platonism, Greek philosophy, Greek mythology, it looks like he is barely an amateur in this field, and he's out of his element. And he'll make statements like, he'll respond to a video online or something. And the video might be complete nonsense. Right. He might be fair to be criticizing this video. But then he'll say things like, there are no sources anywhere that say X. And I can find a source that says X. The question shouldn't be, is there a source that says X? The question should be, does X influence Y in these Christian texts? It appears to me that Dan is out of his element when he gets into the classics realm. Right. But I do want to make it very clear, this guy is a bona fide expert in Hebrew Bible.
Of course.
Or even Christianity or Judeo-Christianity in general.
He studies
so I just want to make somebody's thinking that I'm trying to say he doesn't know anything at all. Like, whoa, no, not at all.
Yeah. I'm glad you're correcting.
Just want to make sure, because I was just criticizing a lot, but I want to make sure people understand that I know this guy knows what he's doing. He's been trained. He's under Stavrokopoulou, and he's
oh my gosh,
this guy's a legitimate expert in his field.
100%.
So I just want to make that clear.
A legitimate expert in his field, right? But his knowledge of classics is not what you thought it should be, or what at least it was presented as, which I gathered meant was pretty bad. Now, here's my question for you. How do you feel standing there in front of this person? Because it's really Dan, and Dan's man is asking you now, why Dan? Why the harsh treatment of Dan? Neil, this is my question for you. Were you there pounding those sources because you were there for a reputation, or maybe because of the work you do at a university somewhere? Were you there? Were there any motives that had you there besides just getting those sources out? That's really what I want to know.
No, you actually sort of said it in the question. I just want to learn the sources, and I want to know what's out there. So like I said, if I don't have a PhD in anything in particular, but I can say this confidently. I have a little bit of knowledge of Greek, a little bit of knowledge of Hebrew. I can read text. I can look words up. I can look through different lexicons and find out things and compare sources. Read. I can also read articles from Ruck or you or Bible scholars in the SBL, whatever. I have access to that at my fingertips. We have Perseus Tufts. We have Topos Text. We have Loeb, which I subscribe to. I can read any bilingual text in Greek or Latin right now and look at both sides, the Latin, the Greek, and see what the English translation is, what the trans. I know we don't live in the world like the 1500s anymore. In the 1500s, if you were just some random farmer, you didn't read text. You had to go through the church or the library or whoever the keepers of the library, depending on what city you're in. I'm just guessing right now. Today is different. Today, anybody can learn ancient text. You don't have to have a PhD to learn ancient text. And then guess what? You can have an opinion on those ancient texts. Period. That's it. It's that simple. I have an opinion on these texts, and this is what I think because I've read them. I can confidently say that. I don't have to be. Nobody can gaslight me and tell me I'm misrepresenting them or something, or I didn't actually read them and I'm just making things up. That can't be done because I know I've read them. Period. So when someone comes along and pretends to say that they've read them or that they understand these things and they just sound way out of their element, I can tell. I don't need to have a PhD or doctorate to do that. That's just objectively true. So you challenge me all you want. I'm wait. Someone challenge me on this stuff. I'm just waiting for it. You know. If I'm wrong, then you can teach me. Then the PhD can teach the amateur, and then everyone's happy because it's education. It's right. Isn't that what we want?
Exactly. And all you're doing is saying, don't step up there and say, hey, this word is not occurring in any texts around it or anything. And then say, oh, who's Lucian? Okay, what you've done is look, Satanic Congregation, what Gnostic has done is absorbed those sources. And in the process of absorbing those sources, he's getting a sense that he can tell very rapidly whether or not somebody really has done the work and really knows these things and is in the sources. And the problem is when people pretend they are and say they are, they mislead. There's something very fun. I thought this was hilarious, Neil. Somebody did a refutation video of me. I think it was Kip. And he said something like, and some other genius, but he said something like, oh, this is what happens when you don't know more than one language, which is hilarious because it shows me that you don't even recognize that classical philology is the study of Greek and Latin, right? When you are supposed to be an expert about the Septuagint, you want to tell me you don't even know? I can guarantee you within 20 seconds of hearing Kip Davis, I could tell you as a professional classical philologist, he does not read Greek. He has no place to make any sort of statements about Greek. Let him say everything that he wants about theology and whatnot. But remember, your expert, Neil, seriously, the expert thought there were no vowels in Hebrew. Okay? All right? Every Israeli just went, that's what is that, an American expert? Holy mackerel. Neil, here's my question, and then we're going to go to the next clip. Should we be standing for accurate philology, accurate history, accurate literature, or should we give things over to people who are experts in the Bible?
I think it should just be class. I think it should just be one giant field with sub studies underneath it, and there shouldn't be a separation between classicism and biblical studies. I think biblical studies should be part of the classicism. Just like somebody who's a classicist might have their sub area in Roman imperial cult literature. Somebody, you can do that with Bible studies, right? Because and this is another thing I noticed. I just recently read an X post by a scholar, it's a scholar that I follow. I follow the guy because he's always putting out cool stuff on archaeology and stuff they find in Pompeii, and like little images of on this day Caesar did this, and it's pretty cool to follow. Really good scholar. But he made a post. He said, I tell my students every year around this time during the first semester, number one, read broad. And I was like, that's it. Read broad. If you read, the more sources you read, the better you'll understand the context of whatever time period you're trying to study. So even if you're just trying to get a PhD in medical text, I'll use you for example. Why not read about the wrestlers of that time period? Because Galen was treating wrestlers. Maybe you want to know what they were doing. So everything's connected in the world. So it's better to have some broader understanding of certain texts outside to get a broad understanding of your own. And this brings us back to Plato's Ion. Plato's Ion is one of my favorite Platonic dialogues because in Socrates is talking to this dude Ion, and he's like, "You're full of shit." He's like, "You're not a Homer expert." He's like, "What do you mean? It's all I study. I don't study anybody. I don't study Pindar. I don't study anything but Homer. That's all I know is Homer." He's like, "But do you study astronomy? Do you study this? Do you study mathematics? Do you study geometry? Do you study geography?" And he's like, "Why would I need to know all that? Because Homer talks about geometry. Homer talks about geology. Homer talks about this. Homer talks about that." And I was like, this is actually kind of a really good point Plato's making in this dialogue with the mouth of Socrates. Read broad. It's a number one. And that's one thing I can say. That's all I do. If I'm not an expert in anything, the only thing I can say I do is try to read broad as I can, at least.
Isn't that gorgeous?
5 years. I'll say this. I've been interested in ancient sources for over a decade. I would say 2011 is when I was in prison and I was reading the Bible cover to cover. But it's been about 5 years now of like serious trying to learn Greek, trying to learn Hebrew, trying to look at actual sources and reading critical scholarship. It's been only about 5 years of that. So I'll admit I'm just getting started at this. I still have a long ways to go. But I have my own opinions on things and I'm pretty confident about them. But if I'm wrong, I'm just going to learn why I'm wrong. That's why I put myself out there. I used to be a mythicist. I used to follow the mythicist stuff and I used to put myself out there. I was just as confident about that back then as I am about things today. And then I started getting shit wrong and I was like, I'm done with I can't prove the guy didn't exist. Why should I even bother following? So like, putting yourself out there, you either be checked or you will be correct. It's one or the other. You got to put yourself out there. Put yourself in the arena of ideas, right?
Yeah. And okay, we're gonna hit another one. Hit the next one, Chewy.
Dan, right? For Standing Stones, the Masaba, delving into ancient Hebrew stuff, I think he's fantastic. There have been critiques I've had, right, where I'm like, damn, you're stepping on my toes, bro, because I have academics that are like literally pioneering ideas like Dionysus in the book of Acts, the Gospel of John, like clearly real good reason. Not like this isn't just you have to stare too hard and then you see similarities. There's really good reason literarily to see that they are imitating Euripides' Bach guy or other things from Dionysus. And I've wrote him personally, said, dude, love you, dude. I really wish you would reword this or rework this and come out at least being more neutral and more balanced, because PhDs from Harvard that I respect.
Okay, my question is, why is this a concern for Derek? What do you think is the real issue here that he's asking about?
I forgot what he said again. About he said he was
Did
concerned
you
about
just play? Oh my God! Run it again, Chewy. Give him
no,
again.
I heard.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm
Play it
sorry.
again. Let's play it again. No, I love it. I love it. It's okay, bro. Have another one. Have another one. Go ahead.
Right. For Standing Stones, the Masabah, delving into ancient Hebrew stuff, I think he's fantastic. There have been critiques I've had, right, where I'm like, damn, you're stepping on my toes, bro, because I have academics that are like literally pioneering ideas like Dionysus in the book of Acts, the Gospel of John, like clearly real good reason. Not like this isn't just you have to stare too hard and then you see similarities. There is really good reason literarily to see that they are imitating Euripides' Bacchae or other things from Dionysus. And I've wrote him personally, said, dude, love you, dude. I really wish you would reword this or rework this and come out at least being more neutral and more balanced, because PhDs from Harvard that I respect.
My bad. I thought you were talking about something he was concerned about me. I was like, I didn't hear him say anything concerned about me. You're talking about Dan.
Yeah, right. He's talking about Dan
Derek,
there. Right.
Derek also has raised concerns about people in the comments of his videos, and me and Derek have both seen a lot of this. People in the comments will say, Dan McClellan has debunked this, or Bart Ehrman has debunked this. Those are the two most common. Sometimes you'll see them together. Bart Ehrman and Dan McClellan have debunked this. It's like a bunch of drones all. Bart Ehrman and Dan McClellan have debunked this. It's like, but they'll never say what it is that I've debunked. Never go into detail. Never, because me and Derek understand that we're touching topics that aren't mainstream. We know that we're not out of the loop on this. Like, we know that this is not. Everybody doesn't think this, but we're going into the nuances of some of these subjects that are not black and white. So when people say this is debunked, you better come correct and tell me what it is that you're talking about, because this is very nuanced. You have to tell me exactly what source that I'm looking at. Is it a fake source? Did I lie about the source? I'm showing you real primary sources. That's all I'm doing. I'm doing most of the stuff I'm doing. I'm not even giving it a conclusion. I'm just saying, here's a source, and tell me what you think. And here's another source. Oh, it sounds a lot like this source right here. And then that's it. That's a lot of times that's my whole video will just be that. So
yeah, and there's nothing, there's nothing that you can do when you're handed a source and you hear right out of the mouth of the person from antiquity what's going on. There's nothing that you can do to stand against that. You're invulnerable. That attack position, you cannot defend against that attack position.
And to be even more specific, I'll give you a specific video. There was a guy who did a TikTok directed at Dan McClellan, and it was in a form of a question. And he was like, Dr. Dan McClellan, do you think it's possible that the Maenadic experience of eating the blood or flesh of Dionysus and pruning of the vines has any common or has any like ancestral roots to the Eucharist in Christianity, which you and I both know? There's tons of Ruck has written books on this. There's tons of papers on this. This has been a subject that's been hotly debated for centuries. And what does Dan do? Dan responds by going to a translation of the Bacchae, some random English translation from some random guy who used the word semele as a virgin, who says semele is a virgin in this text. He doesn't even answer the question. He goes on to say, this is a bad translation of the Bacchae, and there's no evidence that Christianity has anything to do with the Eucharist. And by the way, semele is not a virgin. This translation's bad. That was the video where he said Semele, by the way. That's the one where I caught him on that. And that video, me and Derek were looking at that going, what is going on? First of all, this is not even what he asked. Second of all, there are sources. Clement of Alexandria even points out the how our Eucharist is sacred and divine, and their Eucharist is of the orgy. So even they're recognizing that there's something there, even if they think there's opposites, right? But the point is, there could have been a way better response done if it was asked to a better person who's more knowledgeable of these things. Or why even go to the it's almost as like he thinks the Bacchae is the only Dionysus text that exists. When you ask a question about Dionysus and your first thing is, let's see what the Bacchae says. The Bacchae is just one play. It makes up 1%. It makes up probably 1% of all the Bacchic literature that exists.
Yeah.
That's it. So why would you just go to the Bacchae and then that random English translation at that?
Now remember, he also said, what was it with Dan? What was the thing? Oh yeah, it was the number of words and all that kind of stuff. And that's a little disturbing that you don't know kind of the lexical depth of the language that you claim to be able to study, right? And to be an authority on. That's a little bothering as well. Sounds like he spent a lot of time in the theology, probably, not so much time pounding the linguistic pavement. That you can tell that. Even I know it's about somebody else's pool, but you can tell that. Yeah. Okay. What about, let's go to this third clip, and in this third clip, I want to ask you, before you watch it, look at it and tell me, what does this have to do with a guy named Amun? Go
Let me
ahead.
ask you, this is more of a personal psychological question. I think it's psychological. You notice that you're making critiques of Dan, or you'll make critiques of some other scholars that have. Why don't you do that to Amon the way that you do to them?
Well, that's why I brought up the whole back and forth that I had online, being gaslit, being blocked, being told you're wrong.
The way you
right,
were treated by Amon is different in your view.
Yeah.
So because
and I disagree
he's
with
friendly,
a lot of Amon's things.
But does he care that you disagree with him?
Amon?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And by the way, you can confirm, you and I go back and forth when we text. We disagree on tons of shit.
There's no way that you can't be a student of any discipline and agree 100% with anybody around you. People used to try to do that in graduate school, like suck up to their advisors. It's looked down upon. You're supposed to be challenging each other. That's a part of the craft, so
that's the whole point of this whole thing. Form your own opinion, read the text, like I said, read broad, and then form your own opinion. Like there's a whole bunch of the content creators now that are so boring, and their views reflect it. Like this channel called History for Atheists by this guy named Tim O'Neill. So boring. You're gonna fall asleep watching for 5 minutes. All he wants to do is just suck up to the consensus, to whatever the consensus is. You can tell he has zero knowledge of the text. He's not reading the sources. He's just looking up the consensus and then just going, that's right, and I agree with him. And it's so lazy. It's so lazy. You could just tell. That's one of the worst channels I've ever seen in my entire life. The views reflect it too. His views, no one watches that shit. Anyways, but I'm just making a point. Is like people can see that and go, there's nothing of value here. It's a waste of time to even watch this. I already know what he's going to say. It's all predictable. Everything he says is so predictable. There's no nuance. It's just battling for one side, trying to sound smart because you agree with the consensus. Because you're honestly, you're not sure of yourself. You're scared to form your own opinion because you just don't have what it takes to actually do the work.
Yeah.
People who have their own opinions on things are people who are very smart and do the work. You can notice that.
Yeah. And it's obvious.
The best scholars are the ones that you see them disagreeing with a lot of different things in different areas because they actually have their own opinions on them because they've actually looked at these things, right?
Right, exactly. Because they have put in the time and the effort, and they have worked diligently to guard those texts. They've read them, they know them, they've absorbed them. Yes, definitely. There's one worry that I have. It's one worry.
One more thing I want to say about that. Some of these people today act like someone with a PhD is some anointed priest from some secret order of magical wizards that have magical powers to read sources and gain stuff from them that a normal person cannot see. This guy, I'll keep talking about Tim O'Neill because I can't stand this guy. When he refutes an argument, somebody will say something like, "I think the Dark Ages were actually pretty dark." I agree with Petrarch and Machiavelli. There is no classical text around this time. This is something I would say. The text. What do you have? Oh, let's see. Beowulf. That's it. And Church Father text. So that's a pretty dark time to me, where nobody was in the theater. Nobody's doing anything besides church stuff. That's a dark age to me. And that's a subjective thing to say. He'll be like, Dan McClellan says that the Dark Ages weren't that dark. So you're wrong. You're wrong because this one PhD said so. And And that's how he reacts to everything. He just finds the one scholar that he wants, that agrees with, goes, but this guy says that you're wrong. I'm not even going to get into the nuances and why you're wrong. I'm just going to cite this one guy and just go with it. It's so lazy and boring. It's like, shut your channel down. You're doing nothing. You're wasting your own time. Go do something. Spend your time with better shit, dude. Nobody's gaining anything from your channel.
It's part of a bigger game too. And this is what I am afraid of. And this is what I sense. I know it's going to feel like you're Anakin, somewhere between Yoda and the Emperor. But I am reading a sense of something that Derek calls the frontier, or what was it? Chewie, what was it? Oh, that's what it was. Pioneering ideas. So he said the people at Harvard, right? And everybody's supposed to go, oh, Harvard. Oh, no. Right? I stood outside of Harvard, and I'm going to say this, and this is a harsh thing to say. This is one of those harsh things that Derek doesn't want his people doing. I stood outside of Harvard University with Professor Carl Rock, and he told me of the work that I was doing. It was better than anything that's come out of Harvard in years. In years. Do you know what happens when you let your religion programs take over? You do like Princeton and you drop your Greek program because your wusses can't handle it. So they want to hear. What do they want to hear? They want to hear pioneering ideas. And that's how you sell those little rich bastards their tuition. Oh, God. Oh, God. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And Neil, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of the merchandising. The devil was like, oh, my God, what a den. What a den of brothelry. You know what it smells like? I smell right now the smell. I walked into a dormitory in seminary on the day after the opening performance of Medea with a chorus of Furies that, let me tell you something, Aphrodite was proud of these Furies. These Catholics, college girls, they put everything out there. And I walked through that dormitory room and I said, this is what it's like. This is what it's like. I understand what the Romans were saying in their poets when they talked about that very distinctive smell of the brothel. And I realized the power of the eidolon. Oh, it's good. It was such a, oh my God, why are we going back in time? Let's go forward. I'm going to show that last clip one more time.
No, I want to say something though.
Yeah, go ahead.
The merchandising of academia, tuition is going up and up and up and up and up. And now it's just become this joke of whoever is the most privileged person who can afford to go out of high school and not have to work, and their parents can get them into college, and they can be. Most people aren't even thinking about being a fucking scholar of ancient texts. They're thinking of like, what job will make me the most money? Like, I'm going to be like an engineer or like a doctor or something. So the people that are going into ancient studies now are the most privileged fucking douches in the world. Sorry. So that's why it's trashed now, I think, compared to the century before. I'm just saying, you can see it. You can see it. They're a bunch of privileged little dorks. You can just tell. With spoons up their asses.
Yes, it's blue bloods
up their asses, because no one else is in any position to become a scholar anymore because of the way academia is. It's dead. You're better off just going and learning Greek from a tutor, learning Latin from a tutor, getting some Hebrew from whatever language you need to study, and then start reading texts on your own, start reading articles on your own, just start publishing your own articles, just try to get in somehow.
Yeah.
And then just do it that way. Just do it the way fucking Russell Gmerkin did it. Yeah. Like, who cares about a PhD? I think that's what I'm starting to think.
You know, anybody who's
you really don't need it.
Anybody who's motivated, can anybody who's motivated can take that step and can immerse themselves in the language and can push and push and push.
In
And
this
the
day
ones
and age, more than anything.
yeah, the ones that persist, man. And Neil, listen, you have the entire Loeb series, and you've got
I have the
access
entire.
to it.
I have a better library at my possession than
Yeah.
most people did before the 19th century in world history.
Right.
Right now,
Right.
Neil Sunlek, have
Yeah.
a better library
Yeah.
in my possession than almost every human being that's ever lived before the 19th century, 20th,
Yeah.
maybe 20th century.
It's,
Seriously. So
yeah.
what the hell? Like, what do you think people went to school for to become scholars in ancient history? To
Yeah.
read text, to learn the text, and then form an opinion on them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Flash up the Christ. Neil, take a look at this word. Take a look at this word. I want to tell you past, present, and future. Go ahead. People are starting to learn now that this is a drug term, and they're starting to learn it. Euripides says a Christ is a drug that's used to induce arousal, sexual arousal, right? So, where can the Bible studies people run to get away from this? Because nobody will talk or debate with Ammon. And I think it's from that last clip. I think there's some kind of radiation in that last clip. Show that last clip one more time.
What about inspiring philosophy?
Yeah. Hang on. Show me that last clip.
Let me ask you, this is more of a personal psychological question. I think it's psychological. You notice that you're making critiques of Dan, or you'll make critiques of some other scholars. Why don't you do that to Ammon the way that you do to them?
Well, that's why I brought up the whole back and forth that I had online, being gaslit, being blocked, being told you're wrong.
The way
I'm
you
right,
were treated
you're not
by
an expert.
Ammon is different in your view.
Yeah.
So because
and I disagree
he's
with
friendly,
a lot of Ammon's things.
But does he care that you disagree with him?
Ammon?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I treat you differently, buddy?
By the way, no offense to Derek, but if the way that question didn't make sense to me, because it's like, why don't I critique every single person I disagree with? I don't. That would be like, all right, I'm disagreeing with Dan. I make a video about Dan, right? All right, I made some videos on. I did Richard Carrier. I did Ralph Ellis. I think that might be it. I don't usually talk about other people who I disagree. Every single day that goes by, I hear something from somebody, and I think I don't really agree with that. And I don't even comment. I don't even care. I treat most people that way because it's just like their opinion, and it's not that big of a deal. So it's like, I don't know why he only pointed to you, because like that could just be about anybody. But I guess what he's saying, I guess what he meant by that was like, me being around you and on your show and hearing things I disagree with. Why don't I budge in? But like I said, if that was the case, then I would have to do it to every single person, and I would just be an asshole. I wouldn't want to be an asshole. And I explained why I did the video on Dan, the way I got treated, the gaslighting that happened when I tried to engage with him on X the one time. So I made a video. That's just the honest truth. That's why I did the video. There's dozens of people online who I could make even worse videos about easily, and I don't. I just don't. It's not that big of a deal.
It could also be that you don't do that because you work with the sources, and you know that all I'm doing is giving sources. And so these people who sit around, they make beliefs and they write beliefs into books, and they come up with ideas, and they sell you them in the form of books or baseball caps. Or if you notice, Derek was wearing a t-shirt with his own image on it, right? They're selling you something. You know, Neil, that is not a part of the art, and you preserve those sources. And I think there is an element in that opposes the whole profit-driven business that is the manipulation of what you are told is history. And that's what we're right in the midst of seeing. I think that bothers them about Ammon. I think it bothers them. I respect. Look, from my own opinion, from my own perspective, I respect what you do with the text. And you made another human being appear to be 100% completely and totally, utterly, purposefully friggin' wrong. Right? You know how many words there are in Hebrew? 79,994. What the seriously? If I did that in a meeting in any of my science work, oh my God, they would have kicked me out of there and said, "What are you doing molecular biology?" I think
Well,
we
I almost think that the because people said that I should have let that go because he made a statement. The statement to me was the worst part about it, because the statement wasn't "I'm wrong." I got caught off guard. I was wrong. The statement was I knew that I was wrong, but I leaned into it because I got the decimal wrong. You fucking liar! Sorry, that's fucking bullshit. And I think the statement made it worse. So just being
beep,
that's
yeah.
just I'm just being
Beep.
blunt.
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
Beep.
gotta stop
Sorry,
doing that.
I'm gonna censor you with my own beeping.
You're not
No,
monetized anyway, but you're right. I shouldn't do that. You should.
okay, so here's
Sorry.
Christos. I just want to flash some words up here. Here's the past, present, and future. And this is for Satanic Congregation. And Neil, you're free to just jump in whenever you want. But they're nailed, people. We have them nailed on this word, Christos. They cannot reclaim it. It's ours. We possess it. It's a drug. It's a drug. A Christ is a drug that is used to induce horniness and ultimately the death and resurrection. Okay, let me say that one more time. Christos is a drug that is used through the avenue of horniness to induce death and resurrection. Okay, thank you. Hail Satan, Aphrodite, right? Love it.
Let me ask you this: what about
Yeah.
the oistress?
Yeah.
How's that
Yeah.
connected?
Yeah. How
Or
is that? What do you, yeah. Yeah, you know where the oistress comes from? It comes from that eos, right? It comes from when you talk about io, you were talking about that drug that induces that sexual frenzy. I'm not the one who said it. The Greeks are. Yeah, oistress people. How do you get into that? Why do you think they're all saying the oracles are making love to Apollo? Why do you think there's that whole sexual dimension in there? Right? It's baked into the drugs. That was number one. We've got them. So
the reason why I brought that up is because in Prometheus's one of the trilogies might be Prometheus Bound, but I think I'm like 90% sure it's Prometheus Bound. It's one of the trilogy ones. Yo is Ekrista, and she's Christed by a gadfly. It uses the word Christ in that form. Ekrista, I think it's Ekristai, I think, or I don't know. I have to look it up, but it's got that form, right?
yeah,
But it also has this. She's being. It uses that for stung. She's stung by a gadfly, and then recently Apollodorus, when he tells a story about Yo, he also mentions it again that Yo is the one who was sent by Hera Hera sent the gadfly to sting Yo the cow. So like something's up. There is some weird shit going on with Yo and the gadflies and Christing.
exactly. Yeah. And as you pointed out, all of that connected with Medea, right? We have the earliest recorded Christing from. And I challenge you, there's a lot of Greek literature. You've seen the entire lobes right now. There's a lot. And the lobes aren't everything. There's a shit ton. I can give you a shit ton of medical sources right now that nobody's translated, right? That talk about, oh God, what do you do when you want to get an erection for 2 days, right? Okay, well, you got to prepare. How do you prepare? Right? They have all of it. It's gorgeous stuff. Gorgeous. So, okay, cool.
By the way,
Cool. What about this word?
Most people don't know that in the PGM, there's a fragment in the PGM that says there's like some magical phrase you got to say, but before you say the words, you have to take a naked boy into a graveyard. It's in the PGM.
Why?
So, like, there's something there. And by the way, you're not the first person to point this out. Morton Smith
No.
was the first person. Well, I don't know if he's the first person. He's just another guy who thought that the Mark 14 or is it 14? Yeah, Mark 14 had some weird shit going on. He thought there was some weird PGM style shit going. So you're not in the league of your own, by the way, and that's something you should point out more often. I think.
Yeah.
I know
okay.
you don't care, but like I think some people should know that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I don't want people thinking that I've made anything up. I steal everything, right? I steal everything from these ancient sources, right? Do you think I'm
Right.
smart enough to figure out the Hebrew thing? No. I had to be led through Africanus. He was the smart linguist who figured it out. But anyway, okay. Give me lay stace. Here's another point, Neil, where the evangelical, the biblical community, the theology community, they're not going to be able to talk their way out of the lay stace. And it's only because they've had no access to those authors like Lucian, right? And I know, oh God, he's a biblical expert, right? But he doesn't know who Lucian is. And he doesn't know that there are terms that Lucian is using. And by the way, this one I thought was best. And just for the sake of truth, please, let's get this out there. Just for the sake of truth. Dan said, there is no Christing in the New Testament. This is not a drug that you put in the eyes to alter your vision, right? This is not that at all. And he said it with such confidence, just shook his head, right? When he was doing that, I was watching the interview. And when he was doing that, I said, yeah. How is he able to get away with that? Because you don't know that it says in the book of the Apocalypse, which is in the friggin' Bible. It's canonical, John's Apocalypse. What does he say? He said, God wants you to Christ your eyes that you may see. Yeah, so he didn't even know his own text. Anybody who has read the Apocalypse in Greek, and I've read it forwards and backwards. I much prefer reading it backwards. It's way better.
Is it?
But I've read it forwards and backwards, and I can tell you for a fact, multiple times now, multiple times. Yeah, I can tell you for a fact, anybody who reads Greek, like Dan pretends to, anybody who does that would have picked that up. That in Christing is right there. It's in your own text. How do you not see your own works? Dan is fraudulent, and you were pointing it out. And that, Neil, is the good side of the force. That's the good side of the force. Don't get pulled.
Do you want to know when I knew I was going to make a video?
Yeah.
When I heard the sub Theosebase come up, and I saw when he said, the idea that this word predates the Hebrew is just completely nonsense. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is insane. Like this guy's hasn't touched any classical sources at all. Because that word is abundant. That word, remember, I gave a bunch of examples. I could have kept going. It would have been boring, but I could have kept going. That word is so abundant in ancient text. Way before the Hebrew Bible shows up in any of the Greek sources, they're using that word for reverence, awe, and, sacred, all that type of stuff. And exactly how you kind of described it when you were talking. The person that wrote an article about you, Chrissy Hansen, wrote an article about you. Chrissy Hansen's mad at me now. Great, don't care, don't give a shit. By the way, mad at me now because of my Dan video. Chrissy's article said that. Was that about you saying that Job was called Theosebes because Job, get this is, Chrissy doesn't know shit either. Job was called Theosebes because Job was not Jewish. That's why. So Chrissy must have saw my video and said, holy shit, this is directed at me too. Because I didn't know Theosebes was this common word in all religious and used in all different religious terminologies and for any god at all. It doesn't matter if it's Jewish God or whatever God. Does it have to be God fear of, you know what I'm saying? Like Job, whoever wrote Job, when they're using the term Theosebes in the Greek, it doesn't matter what the translation came first. It doesn't even matter. That's the whole thing. Theosebes means pious. Even in that context, they didn't call Job that because he wasn't Jewish. Get it? Like, so Chrissy was probably mad saying like, damn, he got me too. You know what I mean? So sorry, get mad
and
all you want.
yeah, and there's no reason. There's no reason you should apologize. I felt this. I felt this. This hit me the most from the interview that you had with Derek. It's almost as if he was trying to smooth things over and to say, look, you showed somebody for being a fraud, but, he's also a biblical expert. So let's all play happy. Neil, I just want to tell you, as a member of the Satanic congregation, you don't have to please anyone. We follow reason. And when people project and create lies, when people give you false history, and when people do so under the pretending to have the authority of these texts that we know that they don't actually use these tools. I think it's our right and our duty to confront them and say, as the Furies would say, your greed stains your soul with a stench of ruin. Yeah, I love it. I thought you did an excellent job. I congratulate you, sir. And I say good luck in spreading that message continually through your channel, because that's your art. And I love it, and screw them. You know what I mean? If they are afraid, I'm going to keep, Danny Jones is going to keep setting me up. Okay. He's going to find somebody.
We got one that said he would do it.
Okay.
And it's
I don't want somebody who just will do it. There's plenty of people who write to me all the time and say, "Oh, I'm this and that." I'll go toe to toe with you. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for.
Inspiring philosophy is, though. You know who IP is, though, right?
No, I don't actually. I'm sorry.
We talked about it on this channel. Remember last time I was on this channel, we were talking about the beloved. Remember? Mm-hmm. And those two Christians were crying because you were making fun of Jesus, and they were like, Jesus was sinless. He would never do anything sexual. And you came on and you were like, I know that it's hard to understand that your savior was with a naked kid in a park at 4 a.m. I was in that chat. I was in that video. But he said he would do it.
Yeah.
That would be the battle of the century.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
I need people to see. Ultimately, this is what I need people to see. I need them to see the person who is under the control of the monist theology. I need to see them turned, deconverted, completely antichristed. And that's what I'm looking for. And Iron Maiden Danny Jones will bring it. I know that he will. So that's my future. Neil, tell us what you're working on documentary wise.
I have a video right now that should be out sooner than not. I know I've been I had the moving thing going on, so it's been a while, but this video is halfway done. About halfway done. Script's done. Script's mostly done. And it's about original sin. So what do you mean by, come on, what is that? Some sort of theology shit? Well, turns out in the Orphic Theogony, when Dionysus was eaten by the Titans, Zeus was so angry that he caused the deluge to wipe out all of the cosmos. It wasn't even just the Earth, it was the whole cosmos. Most people miss that. And then the world starts over, right? But because so when humans are created after that, they have half Titanic nature and half Bacchic nature, which makes them spirit and flesh. The spirit comes from Bacchus, the flesh comes from the Titans, because they consumed the fruit of Bacchus. Bacchus is a fruit god. They consumed the fruit of Bacchus, just like. And then I have a chapter on that. I have a chapter on Pandora in the box. Prometheus comes in and warns her, like the serpent does in Works and Days Theogony. I have Iwa and Persephone being called the Iwa, the Kori. She eats the pomegranate. She gets stuck in Hades. It's an opposite of what happens to Eve when she bites the fruit. By the way, it's most likely a pomegranate that Eve bit from, not an apple. So it was the same fruit. And she gets cast out of paradise, right? So we have we have all. I'm comparing all those texts together and showing the Orphic origins of it all.
God, that sounds fantastic. It sounds like good work. One of these days, somebody's going to have to grant you some kind of unofficial degree. So if you keep writing and putting together
I
these
really don't care.
projects, I'm going to have to make something up. I'm going to have to make up some institution or something and give it to you. Let me show. Chewy wants to put up a couple of things here. Chewy, these are ideas that I want you to, Satanic Congregation, to be having in your head. Go ahead, start playing through your screen, and I want to talk about these. Go ahead. It's okay. Neil doesn't mind. Go ahead, Chewy. You can do it. Neil, you're going to have to take a seat in the back. Here, go ahead, take him. Now put some of your picks up there. He doesn't mind. He knows there's video games back there. Go. Yeah, go ahead. Bring it up first. Bring it up. Give me an image. Yes. Nope. One of these that you brought up. I want us to start considering what the origins are of the texts. I want us to start considering where the cult actually is coming from. So this is the actual history of your monist beliefs. Give me the next one. Yeah. I want us to realize that this has a lot to do with screaming women in the throes of what is an orgasmic mind opening. Okay. Women, not men. I didn't say anything about men. Right. Okay. All right. Give me another one. Chewy, give me another one. I want us to remember the connection between the users of the purple and the opening of the eyes by the Ewa. I want you to remember that licking the devil brings that power, right? Just like Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane when he's with the boy. And I want you to remember that eunuchs can be excessively sexually charged. So no testicles, controlled by drugs and artificial growth development. You can make a sex machine out of a person. Yes, you can. And they did. I was reading about a eunuch just today. I was reading about a eunuch who was oversexed, and he was just pounding everybody crazy. Right? That one's just too much, man. Drug that guy. Right? Give me the next one. Give me the next. They wanted the pirates, right? They wanted the pirates, and now we have a pirate queen. As we take this journey together, I want you to remember the past isn't what you've been fed, and there is a way out, and it's not through me, and it's not through Neil. It's through those texts. That is our reality. That is our reflection. And this is what we need to do. We're not doing this for money, right? We can't do this for money. The joy that's in Neil, that possession that he gets when he's working through those sources, that's dope. That is dope. And if you are sitting on an organization that's made of people who are selling modules of their speech, and yet they are wrong, where is that going to end up? There's no honor of the muse in that. And that's why I come to your wives. Yeah. I love it. Neil, do you want to say something before we end up, and then we'll just vanish for the evening?
I couldn't agree more. We live in a time period. I say this a lot on your channel, but it's always connected to what we talk about. And we live in a period of time right now with the internet where anybody, anywhere, can become very adept in ancient sources and learn ancient text. Get a tutor online. Go to Wizant, learn Greek, learn Latin, learn any language you want. go to start reading those, get Loeb, start reading some through Loeb, start reading source. Just go. You don't. We're not held back anymore like it was 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you weren't part of that class of scholars. You just weren't. It just wasn't in the cards for you. Now anybody has no excuse, and you don't have to go 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 in debt just to get kind of like trained into one little corner, some corner that you really don't even want. You don't need to do that. Like you just unless that's what you want, do it, but you don't have to. So, that's Hail Satan.
You see what a fine hero is. I love that, Neil, and it's my honor and pleasure to serve with you. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to the congregation for coming and partaking in this. And Neil is goddamn right. He's right. Go out there. It's time. It's Renaissance time. Thank you. Hail Satan.
Time. Hail Satan.
666 on Vogues, my rich on purple dope. 666 on Vogues, my rich on purple dope. Welcome to Babylon. You might not know the names of the streets you're on. The road was paved with gold. The people sold their souls for a briefcase full of dope. The kids got turned to soap. Bitch, these streets, they ain't no joke. Oxycontin got you sniffing Ajax. James Brown, bitch, this is a payback. My witch will give a kick on her broomstick. Flying through the sky, full moon, shiny shine. These drugs are really strong, they'll fuck you all night long. Puff puff on the bong, Irish witch like Cheech and Chong. Old school riding, listen to my favorite songs. Cubism, liquid smoke, it's hot in here. This place is on fire, I'm glad you made it. Give me some loving, lunatics on the grass. 666 Medusa, zombie junk, bending corners, black magic voodoo. 666 on Vogues, my witch on purple dope. 666 on Vogues, my witch on purple dope.